I've taught classes around the country, and I've had as many as 300 people in the room at convention. And sometimes I'll see somebody vigorously taking notes, and they're hyper worried that they're not going to get the steps down accurately for something. Don't worry about that. This is recorded. So I think you gain more from just kind of listening and watching the philosophies. And then if you need to go back and rewatch the screen when I'm actually making specific moves in the MLS to show you what to do, how I prospect, then you can go back and watch multiple times to set it up. So don't worry about taking too many notes or getting stressed out.
I mean, don't be the guy at the concert that's filming the whole thing with their iPhone instead of watching the actual concert.
Yeah, you'll never go back and watch it. I'm going to blend a couple classes today that I've taught in the past because I really feel like prospecting and this massive change we're seeing in communication kind of go hand in hand. So let me take you down a philosophical road and just bear with me for about the first 5 to 10 minutes while I paint you this picture. Because then when I start showing you specifics as to what we do here at Utah Cribs, I think giving you our philosophy first will make a little more sense. Here's the philosophy in general, and I'll share my screen just to show you some fun things. All right, so a little bit about the history of communication, okay? There have been multiple forms of communication throughout time and throughout history. Now, obviously, we're in an era where it is really common to pit boomers against millennials, okay? That's kind of the communication battle that's going on. And I don't align with either side, by the way, but you'll hear a lot of boomer demographic, especially agents, say, these darn millennials, they don't answer their phone. I've left 3 voicemails. I can't get a hold of you. You in turn have millennials oftentimes being personified as either being lazy or non-responsive. And what I find interesting in our business is it's not necessarily that they're non-responsive. It's actually a lot deeper than that. And I've got data to show you this. Millennials will often be quickly agreeable on the phone or in person, and they're more agreeable the more they are pressured by somebody who's viewed as above their head or an authoritative figure. So what do I mean by that? If you are hyper soliciting a millennial via phone call solicitation, and you do happen to get them on the phone, which is rare, they're going to do all they can to get off of the phone with you as fast as possible. And so they might agree to a listing presentation or whatever you're trying to get to happen, but they're probably going to flake out. And that's because they've learned that, in general, boomer generation, their number one tool for the 80s, 90s, early 2000s was the phone. They got very good at the phone. They got very good at solicitation on the phone. And so most millennials know it's a losing battle to try to navigate those waters. They just, yeah, off the phone, not show up. So let's go back to a philosophy of the history of communication. Since cavemen, we've communicated in 3 different ways: spoken, gestural, and graphic, okay? So when you really think about it, a new age argument is something like this. Well, just pick up your darn phone. I cannot convey what I'm trying to do so in text because text does not convey emotion. Really? Since the dawn of time, we had hieroglyphics, and post-hieroglyphics, we had the first codexes, or which is the first version of a book. And you're telling me books can't convey emotion? We've conveyed emotion in text and gesturally as much as we have spoken throughout time and history, okay? But where the business world, where the real estate community, and where expert salespeople are getting very frustrated in this day and age is we're bombarded with many forms of communication, and we're choosing the wrong forms at the wrong time to solicit our customers or to operate with other professionals, agent to agent, in our industry. There's the basis of the argument. And I know we're talking about prospecting today, but you got to understand some kind of new age philosophies on communication to really get it right. So based on that history, give me just a couple more minutes to go into the philosophy, and then I'll start showing you specifics. Let's explore some data to dive deeper into this philosophy about all these different forms of communication and how and when we should choose what form. Okay? Share you this. All right. A few things to get your memory to kind of jog your memory and get you thinking about this. What does the future of real estate look like? Okay. And what does it look like from a communication standpoint? Mind you, I wrote this presentation and have given it a couple of times over the past few years prior to COVID. But COVID has fast forwarded a lot of these philosophies that I thought would come to our industry. So questions: who's contracted a house for a buyer without the buyer seeing it live first? Those of you that have been in the industry a while, we never would have dreamed of that 15 years ago. But when I started, there was no way. Who's done a transaction without ever meeting in person or talking live to the agent on the other side? Now, I know some of you would immediately say, I find that unprofessional if I have not talked to the agent on the other side of the transaction. I can tell you, I've had transactions where I talk to the agent on the other side of the transaction almost daily. I have had transactions where I've never actually talked to them on the phone or in person from start to finish. We've communicated all digitally. Both have gone smooth. And I've had ones that didn't go smooth, where we've communicated both ways. We'll dive into that. Lastly, who's listed a property prior to ever actually physically walking through it? Signed paperwork, it's listed, you haven't even seen the property, okay? Suffice to say, these are becoming more and more common. Let me blend some thoughts you might be having about the future of real estate with some facts from Harvard Review 2019. Answer the phone. I can't convey emotion in writing. That's the philosophy, right? Less than 5% of phone calls are answered these days. 98% of texts are read within 2 minutes. There's a difference between text and email. One of the reasons texts are read is notification pop-ups and everybody has them going. And people want the marked as read icon to go away. It's just kind of a FOMO thing. So whether they responded to is a different thing, but 98% of texts are read within the first 2 minutes of receiving. 82% of emails are never opened. This is from Harvard Review last fall. Okay? A few more. I don't have time to type this out in text or email. Will you just answer your phone so I can talk at you? The average person spends 55 minutes a day texting. Consumers respond to text 50 times faster or 60 times faster than emails. The average person sends and receives 94 text messages a day. And here's the last graphic on communication. I don't have time to type this out, just answer your phone. I know you can't see these numbers, but it basically shows you communication speed in all the different formats. And the average person communicates just as fast in text nowadays than they do over the phone. And in fact, what the study doesn't take into account is people who like to hear themselves talk, like me right now. Since I can't interact with you, I'm just talking. So it's easier to go off on tangents. It's easier to lose control. And for that, oftentimes, depending on the form, verbal communication, shockingly, is the least effective. All right, that's enough of that. And I know some of you have seen those slides in another class I've taught, so I won't keep going through that. But let that marinate as I start merging and showing you the way we prospect here at Cribs to give you some ideas on when to use what form of communication. I have found that when I talk about prospecting, or when I am at a real estate seminar and somebody's about to come on stage and talk about prospecting, I tune out. It's my natural personality. I hate it. I've never liked it since I started my career. I've always avoided cold calling. In fact, I've never really done it in 17 years. And I don't really even enjoy warm calling. In fact, I've never really had to do that. So how do I get my business, and how do we do the production that we do? Well, we find some crafty ways to stay in touch with people, okay? And at the end of the day, prospecting is not about phone solicitation whatsoever. Prospecting is about what time you set aside, what habits and traditions you've created to grow your sphere of influence, and to be organized with that sphere of influence, and to stay in touch with that sphere of influence. And my personal favorite, to be established as an expert in your sphere of influence's personal opinions. All right. And again, I promise I'll show you screens and dive into some details. But let's explore a little deeper what I was saying. All right. Expanding your sphere of influence. If you're new and you're wondering, I don't have one client, or how do I get in touch with people, or how do I grow my sphere? We could go down a bunch of rabbit holes, but let me give you some high-level pointers. Number one is be yourself, okay? If you're trying to solicit a group of people that is not a natural fit for you, let me save you years of heartache. Those people aren't going to come into your sphere of influence. I'll give you real examples. If I were to decide that, the Rotary Club up at Red Butte Gardens, they tend to be widows. They tend to be wealthy that subscribe there. They're very into botany and things at the gardens. And I could take the long tail approach of trying to get on the board of the Rotary Club at Red Butte Gardens. That may sound prestigious, and I might be introduced to new people that have luxury real estate that eventually I could sell. But I don't know anything about botany. I'm not into that. And it would be awkward for me to insert myself, especially if I came off as showing up to meetings and then pushing real estate. So how do you expand your sphere in a natural way? Really, it just takes sitting down and analyzing, who are you? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies of natural interest? And here's the beauty. If you grow your own hobbies and you enjoy life, you're also naturally going to be connecting to people that have similar interests. And trust me, you've all heard me say this in classes you've attended of mine, you don't have to talk about real estate. In fact, my way of doing it is I'm membership of a lot of gyms, yoga, mountain biking, boating, skiing, and I invite people on these things, okay? And over time, in fact, I joined a CrossFit gym when that wasn't even a thing, probably 10 years ago. And the friendships I have created and then the real estate I've done from that one gym, it is astronomical. In fact, I became good friends with a commercial agent at CB Richard Ellis. Jeff Richards, you probably heard of him. He's like the #1 guy in industrial. I just met him randomly at a CrossFit gym. We became good buddies. We mountain biked together. We bought a house in St. George together. Oh, and he exclusively sends me all of his residential referrals, which are significant year after year. The property I just closed in Bluffdale for $2.3 million was just a referral from him, and they're the easiest referrals ever because these clients already trust Jeff and he's in real estate. And when he changes to residential, he says, use Shake. So first things first, know yourself, expand your sphere in natural ways with hobbies that you already do. And as you get to know people in a natural setting, they're going to be added to your sphere. All right. That's enough talk of sphere. Now, what do you do with it? Here is where I've found the greatest disconnect in real estate prospecting and solicitation around the United States. As I've talked to lots of young agents trying to start, a lot of them at Berkshire Hathaway. I used to teach at Sotheby's when that brand was growing. I was the broker here in Salt Lake for them. Probably the biggest disconnect I've seen is agents are doing all the right things. They're meeting people, they're trying to grow their sphere, or they're trying to get that first deal. And the roadblock is what to do with contact information. Okay? You're getting people's contact info. Should you put it in an Excel spreadsheet? What CRM do you use? I get that question still all the time. Jake, what CRM do you guys use? Here's the answer. We've used multiple. Not one has ever been a silver bullet. Not one has ever generated a bunch of business for us. And CRMs are only as good as what you tell them to do. In other words, you honestly, in my opinion, you could still have a handwritten notebook or Rolodex. That's fine with me. The question is, what habits and traditions are you creating to stay in touch with those people? So let's not get hung up on the format. I don't have a whiz-bang format that I can show you. I can give you suggestions, but we've used many, and we've gone in and out of just using Google Docs. Okay.
Hey, can I add something to there just as a technology guy? I get asked that question all the time. My answer is always the same. If you can't do it with a notebook and a calendar, there's no technology that will help you.
Yep.
Because just like you said, it's habits are everything.
Yep. Thanks, Joe. All right, so I am going to show you some of my lowest hanging fruit, some things that I do every morning when I get people's contact information, when I'm at the gym in the morning and I meet somebody new, or I've known somebody for 4 years and they approach me for the first time ever about real estate. That just happened last Thursday. I've kind of been acquaintances with somebody at the gym I go to on holiday. I've never handed out my business cards at the gym. I've never been a sleazy, pushy sales guy. There's other realtors at the gym. I don't step on their toes and bring up real estate in front of them, you know. But this guy approached me and just said, hey, my dad's moving back here. Lives in Phoenix, Arizona right now. Wants a place downtown. Can you look for him? That sparks that conversation. So what do I do with his business card that he handed me? And I've still never been in touch with the dad. Now we got to go back to communication. Rule number one about which form of communication to choose. Rule number one is, who is in the power position? This is one of my favorite phrases to teach in real estate. And I like to say I made it up. In my definition, the power position is determined by who holds the power. So in real estate, if you're in a seller's market, like it has been, COVID's maybe disrupting this, but it has been for 6 years, an extreme seller's market, low inventory, then you as the listing agent are in the power position, which means you get to determine the form of communication. If you are soliciting a customer, okay, the customer's in the power position, in my opinion. Okay, now you want to establish yourself as an expert, but when the customer is in the power position, you want something from them. You really want the listing. You want to represent them as a buyer. Just take a pause and say, all right, so-and-so customers in the power position, what form of communication would they prefer? Rule number two about communication. Reply in the format you were solicited in, especially if you are not in the power position. What do I mean by that? All right, this guy gives me his business card. He said it's for his father. I need to quickly follow up with, how does your dad want me to contact him? Okay, I'm going to assume it's phone call, and I know this sounds elementary, but trust me, where many agents are missing out on transactions is right here. It's establishing communication, and it's offending the customer in that first interaction that loses most agents the business. Okay, and really all you got to do is decide who's in the power position and what form of communication they would like. And it's much easier if they've reached out to you first, because all you have to do is reply back in the same form you were solicited in. If somebody texts you, text them back. If somebody calls you, call them back. If somebody emails you, email them back. The worst thing you can do, especially for my age demographic and younger, is to get an email with me requesting something from you and then you to hurry and call me. Because more often than not, you're so happy to try to get me on the phone. You're in the middle of reading my email and instructions as you call me, and you're reading my email to me as you call, right? I mean, I should know what it says. I just wrote it, okay? This is a hyper-offensive form of communication, and you will start to see more business blow-ups and eruptions over time, because trust me, this battle is not over. And it's only exacerbating because everybody's kind of on edge with what form. All right, so power position and reply in the format you were solicited in. Once you're adding people to your sphere, here's what I do in the mornings, okay? And this is low-hanging fruit, guys. If you're worried about CRM or all these roadblocks, things to do for your business, here is a free, do it every day, simple solution, okay? So if you've gotten somebody's contact info and you know what form of communication you should be reaching out to them in, then all you got to do is, let's say it's an email, shoot them an email and say, hey, it was great chatting this morning. I'm watching the market daily, and I just need to have a little more information on what you're specifically looking for, okay? I could give you scripts and texts and different things. I have toyed for years with my written communication, texting and email, and saved a lot of formats that I find people will be most responsive to. But suffice to say, you don't really need to wordsmith these things. But what you're trying to get at is you want people to start replying to you and telling you what their search parameters are. Okay, so I'll post some of my scripting, but really you're just trying to do, one, get their search parameters, two, out the gate, and this is rather imperative. As you're establishing communication with someone for the first time, that's the moment at which you start also establishing yourself as an expert in their minds, okay? Let me give you some live examples, because if I was sitting home at Zoom, I'd be like, what is Jake talking about? There's a massive difference between prospecting and solicitation of the 80s, in my opinion, and the 90s, and now. And one of those massive differences is people used to be rather okay with solicitation. It's like they didn't love it, but it was the norm, right? I mean, 50s, 60s, 70s, door-to-door salespeople, as soon as the phone was popular, you were going to get home phone solicitation. The first decade of cell phone numbers, you got, solicitation just grew wildly on cell phones till we got the do not call list, and it's still rampant and nobody cares, okay? As we as consumers have gotten bombarded, your clients no longer want to be bombarded with multiple forms that aren't specific to them, okay? So how do you give them something of value? And this is a philosophy from Donald Miller. He's perhaps the #1 marketing mind in the US right now. You should watch his videos on YouTube. Josh Metal sends them to me all the time. And he goes into specifics of how to use a YouTube video, best things to do on social, blah, blah, blah. But in general, he's also saying, give it to them quick, give it to them specific, give them something of value. So my golden rule for starting communication with someone is to extract from them what they want to do in real estate as quick as I can and start giving them something of value. Okay. So I'm pretty good at either text or email getting people to reply and at least tell me what they're looking for. They may not be a client yet. Sometimes people reply and say, oh yeah, well, my brother's a realtor and he's still sending me things. But my friend who referred me to you says you're really good too. You know, you get people doing this stuff all the time. So you've got to have a few quick things you can send somebody in text or email or over a social platform that are hyperlinks that establish you as an expert. What might that be? My favorite is for those of you that are now having Zoom accounts, and we can do a separate class on this, but my favorite lately is to schedule myself a Zoom meeting, record myself talking to you like I am right now, recording myself on my screen in the MLS, and going through it and explaining market data, answering a question about the market and COVID in 3 minutes or less, and using that as a form of solicitation to establish communication with people. I did not plan this, but let's do a dry run through while you can see my screen and you can see me kind of trying to do this live. Okay. I just got referred somebody, they're a buyer and they're they think that if they hold on through COVID, they're going to get a much better deal on a luxury property because luxury prices are going to fall through the floor and they can start lowballing. Let's say I know that much. Well, instead of just calling them and trying to get them on the phone and have a conversation, I can do a little research beforehand and say, show me data on properties in Salt Lake County over $1 million. And I can film a video of me explaining this data, or I could just attach them a PDF. You all saw me do this. It takes 15 seconds. And then I could say something like, you know, despite what you might think, April of 2019 saw 29 closings over $1 million in Salt Lake County. And this April that just finished still saw 23 over $1 million. Okay. I mean, that's just a simple number, but in 30 seconds or less, you can extrapolate something that is of value to this person you're soliciting. Okay. The more you do this, the more you use every opportunity for communication to establish yourself as an expert in their minds, you don't ever have to push what you do for a living onto people. You just keep saying, I'm the expert, I'm the expert, I'm the expert. Here's why. I want to help you. I do know what I'm doing. I can help you. And if with that being the continued message, people don't find it annoying solicitation. All right. So if you've established who's in the power position, you've got contact information, or if you're looking for ways to expand your sphere, we already talked about that, do things naturally that fit your habits. So you're starting to talk real estate, you're getting people who are giving you their contact info, you're planting seeds of solicitation with them to establish yourself as the expert. And the hope is at this time, you've gotten them to tell you what they want to do in real estate. Do they want to buy? Do they want to sell? Are they investing? Do they think, are they going to be a lot of work? Like people right now per COVID who think the sky is falling and they can write a bunch of lowball offers. Okay, whatever it is, you can define what they're trying to do in real estate so that you can start planting seeds of education. Our slogan here at Utah Cribs for 15 years has been, we educate you so you make an educated decision when it comes to real estate. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've done a lot of freebies. a lot of freebies throughout my entire career. Okay. Where people just say, got a question, wondered about this or that in real estate, heard you're an expert, but they come back around. People will say, I dare not transact unless this guy gives me his opinion. All right. If you've got those things going for you, here's what I do every morning. Let me share my screen again. Okay. Whenever I get somebody telling me what they want to do in real estate, I do what all of you do. I go into the MLS and I look up what they want to buy. So let's suppose I got somebody looking between 400 and 600,000. Okay. East Side, Salt Lake. Okay. Let me do one side note. Once you get somebody to tell you what they're trying to do in real estate, especially if it's a buyer, and especially the more specific they give you parameters, I want this price range, I want this area, I want at least 3 beds, I want a 3-car garage. You've all heard it before. Have you found, like me, that, and answer me in the chat room because I'm watching this, have you found, like me, that most of the time, those buyers are totally unrealistic? Like, most of the time you get someone to reply back with what they are looking for, you go into the MLS and there's not even one property listed that fits their very tight parameters. Does anybody find that similar to me? Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing comments for sure. Okay. And Kim, you're exactly on. It's teaching them what they want doesn't exist. That's actually my philosophy as well. Okay. And that's why I'm bringing this up. Okay. Here's the deal. Here's another little trick that separates like solicitation and being an annoying agent versus really garnering trust with a long-term, robust client. The moment they start telling you things like, okay, I want East Side, let's do this. Watch my screen. I want East Side between 400 and 600. I want at least a 3-car garage. I want, here's what I'm hearing all the time now. I want a single family home. I want a Rambler because I don't want stairs, right? Everyone wants this type of product. Okay. And I forgot. I want to be east of Highland Drive, but I guess I'd go east of at least 1300 East. Okay. Well, you all watched me do that. Before we even look at the properties, there's only 7 properties east side Salt Lake, east of 13th, that have a 3-car garage and at least 3 east of 1300 East between 400 and 600,000. So most agents at this moment, they're so excited that a client gave them back what they want and all they want to do is keep the client happy. So they just start saying, excellent, I'll watch, I'll look every day. And guess what? In this day and age, you can't look any better than your client can. And regardless of what you do, they're going to look every day, even if you tell them not to, even if you tell them you're the source, even if you tell them all these good narratives I have about how the MLS works and they're crazy to look on Zillow because it's false information. Trust me, it falls on deaf ears most of the time. And they're still going to be surfing the web and they're going to do a better job of finding what they want than you are. So to Kimberly's point, what you're trying to do is educate them so that you establish yourself as an expert and you bring them to reality. You're giving them a reality check, but there's a finesse to doing that. So once I've established what they want, am famous for making my first reply back. This is where you really hook a client, especially a buyer. I am famous for doing what we just did here in the MLS, a quick search, and then sending an email or a YouTube video of myself doing what we just did with them. Okay, so I'll film myself like we're talking right now. going through the MLS, and I will say something like, hey, Mr. Johnson, thanks for replying to my email. As you can see, I'm here live in my office right now. I'm sharing my screen with you. Did you know that if you look between 400,000 and 600,000 right now for a Rambler east of 1300 East, from downtown clear out to Draper, there's actually only 7 properties under 600,000 that are for sale. We can take a quick glance at them. I can say a few things. And then I'll pan back to myself and I'll say something to the effect of, with only 7 available, there's a few things we should start doing. One, if you're interested, we should possibly expand your search, okay? Number 2, you know, a lot of people tell me, well, that's okay if there's only 7 available and I've already seen those on Zillow, but I'll wait for the right house to come along. And what I like to do, Mr. Johnson, is show you the likelihood of a property like that coming along. If we look under contract and in escrow, right now there's 3 properties that meet that same criteria. And in the past year, there have been 34 that sold. What does that mean? 7 available, you know, 3 under contract, and 34 sold in an entire year? Well, statistically, that means we might see 1 or 2 houses that fit the same demographic come available every month. In other words, there's not going to be a plethora of new listings flooding the market that fit this demographic. So I'll say something like that, but here's the overarching point that I want you all to understand. I won't do this with every email I get from everybody all the time. You never could. But when I'm prospecting in the mornings, the lowest hanging fruit for me is people who have recently replied and either asked a real estate related question, or they've actually told me what they're trying to do in real estate, and I'm trying to return an educated response to them, okay? And there's many formats you can do it in: reporting, PDFs, stuff that marketing already creates for you. Whatever it is that establishes you as an expert, when you're first starting communication with a new prospect, it's critical that you find out what they want, you reply in the format they reached out to you, and you give them something of useful information that's specific to what they're looking for, okay? So I come in every morning, and the first thing I do is answer emails about what people want, okay? The next thing I do, and again, I'm giving the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest stuff for you to do right now. The next thing I do is, if Mr. Johnson just told me this is his search, and hopefully he gets my little video where I kind of told him those are difficult parameters, and I'm starting to educate him that he's going to need to make quick full price offers. Okay, we haven't got there yet, but I'm starting to plant those seeds. I'm then also going to simply take the extra step that many agents don't, to make it easy on me every morning to remind myself that I was soliciting a Mr. Johnson, because before you know it, you're doing this with hundreds of people. How do I do that? You don't need a CRM. You don't need to make yourself crazy notes. You don't need any of that. Here's what I do. Now that I have his search set up, let's go back to the search screen. Okay, remember, he's wanting 400 to 600 grand, 3-car garage, Rambler, single family, east of 13th, somewhere in Salt Lake. 7 properties fit this criteria. So now what I want to do is create listing alert. We used to call these hot sheets. I mean, whatever you want to call them. And here's what I've learned, guys. Back to your buyers. Believe me, I'm really good at explaining how syndication works. I've taught classes on it. It still falls on deaf ears with most of my clients. They're still going to surf the web in their underwear at midnight looking for houses, no matter what you tell them. No matter how many times you reply back and say, sorry you wasted your whole night with all these properties you just sent me hyperlinks from Zillow. They're sold, under contract. Here's why Zillow. I have a video that explains why not to use it. My clients are probably like yours. They're gonna do it anyway, okay? Similar with what I'm showing you right here in Hot Sheets. If you're under the assumption that you can have a good conversation with somebody you solicited and got their email, set them up on a hot sheet, and jam thousands of people into your MLS hot sheet, and then sit back and hope that it generates a lot of revenue, it will just never happen. People aren't going to open the emails. They go to junk. They're looking on their own. Let's face it, the way it's formatted coming from us in the MLS actually isn't as consumer friendly as Zillow, even though we're the experts and we have a lot more to explain to the customer, and we're far better than what they could get through Zillow. The consumer is at the moment just concerned with how it looks on their screen, okay? So here's what I do. I set up hot sheets for myself in the name of the customer. So we were doing this search for Mr. Johnson, right? Okay, so I will name it Mr. Johnson, East Side SLC or whatever as a little description. I'll put in the description under 600K with 3-car, okay? These are just notes for myself. I'm the only person who's gonna see this. I will set all these hot sheets to myself, okay? I have all of mine come every morning at 5 a.m. for everyone that I set up, so they're fresh and ready every morning. I usually put no expiration date or put it out years. I name the email subject, Mr. Johnson Home Search, whoever the client is, and then I
can learn to understand.
I have a predetermined script here. Let's see, give me just a second. Oh, I know what I called it, sorry. It is called Auto Hot. Auto Hot Sheet verbiage. You're gonna see this come up on your screen in just a minute. Sorry, I haven't opened Word in a while, okay. And I have already, oops. Okay, I'm gonna show you this in Word. I will usually just cut and paste this verbiage into the hot sheet to myself. And I can email this after, so no need to take this down, but it basically says, this is your Utah property search set to send you any and every listing from every company, bank repo, short sale, etc. the day it gets listed on the market. The search criteria is the following. The search criteria can be changed at any time if you'll just email me back. There's no need to watch other websites. We will gather everything that fits your criteria and send it directly to you the day it goes on the market. Trust us, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, and others do not update as fast. Do not trust them. Get used to saving your properties as a favorite, blah, blah, blah. Anytime you want the search edited, just email us back. If you want to see a property live, send us back the MLS number, date and time that works best for you, and one of our agents will arrange to meet you at the property and open it up. Kind of this loosey-goosey, it's all handled for you. We'll open the property, just let us know. And then we have a little YouTube video filmed on how and what to do with hot sheets. Now, I may have confused you because I just told you I only set these up to send to myself. Here's the catch. So every morning at 5 a.m., I'm getting tons of these, and this is how I prospect. They come to me, I know in the subject of the email who the search is for, and there's already a pre-written message to them in the body of the hot sheet. So I'm gonna go back to my email. Let me share with you my email, and I'll show you an example of how these look in the morning. Okay, you're now in my email, utahrealestate.com. All right, May 13th. Can you see how I get tons of these every morning, and they are named the client's name or Sometimes I even put in parentheses who referred them to me. And then I do a little line about what was specific that they wanted. Jacqueline wants a master on the main. This is a hot sheet I set up for myself to watch the downtown opportunity zone based on the opportunity zone maps. Okay. This is Mitchell downtown. This is one of the developers up at Red Ledges. I had a lunch with him once and got introduced. And he obviously is very connected to realtors in Park City, so I'm not stepping on toes up there. But he mentioned, hey, one day I'd like a loft with a rooftop deck downtown. So I set myself to just watch loft downtowns with roofs. They come on pretty rarely, maybe once a month, but it gives me a reason to solicit him, okay? And they look like this. If you've never sent yourself a hot sheet to see what your clients are getting, this is what it looks like. Okay. Now here's the critical part. I'm panning back to me so you can watch me say this, and then I will show you. How I prospect every morning is first kind of answering those new prospect emails, texts, or phone calls I'm getting. That's critical. And doing the best I can to extract from them what they're trying to do in real estate and establishing myself as an expert. Step 2, I'm taking that information and I'm putting it into the MLS and sending them a smart email that's specific to them, starting to educate them on the likelihood of getting what they want to do in real estate. And then 3, while you're doing all these steps, you've got to take the next step to make that process automated for you so that you don't have to go back in every day and redo a search for this client. Because trust me, you're going to forget about them as you get busy. So I just showed you how to hot sheet yourself. Now what do we do? So every morning at 5 a.m., I got a bunch of these coming to me. For example, I was in St. George from last Friday till last night. So I wasn't in my office. I was hardly working. I was having lots of fun. But every morning when I'm up, one of the first things I can do, or when I'm even sometimes on a run, I do this stuff all the time. I get all those hot sheets on my phone. And it's so simple, guys. This is how I prospect. All I do is open up the email and click forward to the actual client. So if I was going to email Mitchell here about rooftop deck places, Mitchell Burns up at Red Ledges, I would say, hey, Mitchell, did you see the new one below on South Temple? Okay, share my screen back with you. Okay, so I'll take the hot sheet. I will click forward. I will say, hey, Mitchell, did you see the new one on South Temple? Pics below. And then I'll click send. That's it, okay? So instead of you setting a bunch of people on hot sheets and hoping they look at them and then hoping they get in touch with you while they're surfing Zillow, no. You set it up to come to you. You're the source. And this, we're not duping a client here, but this makes clients think you're up early every morning and you are searching for them before they waste time this evening on Zillow. You following me? Okay. And once you get good at this, I do it a lot. Well over 100 of these go out every morning. If I'm not around, my assistant can do it, but I find it even pretty easy to do when I'm on vacation. All it is open, forward, say something. You've already kind of started establishing yourself as the expert. If a client isn't responsive, you say things like, hey, nothing new has fit your criteria for about a month. Are you looking, do you want to expand your search area? Do you want to up your price? Hey, per COVID, we're not seeing pricing come down yet. So we're seeing less and less homes in it. There's ways to start sparking that combo, but this is at the grassroots of what clients want to hear and see from you. They don't need postcards. Well, we've all kind of dropped postcards about recipes because that got made fun of for a decade. But now agents have moved on to only slightly better. postcards about upcoming events. Yeah, sure, I like that that's in the community, but guess what? I can Google it myself, okay? What they want is specific real estate information to them, and they want you to source it and tell them what it means, okay? Let's see, I'll read some comments to try to give you, do you send client full or agent full one day? Okay, good question. I do client full reports when I'm sending hot sheets, and this is how it looks when you open it up. Let me share my screen. Okay, just because it's always going to brand you as the agent. It's going to brand you as the agent on anything you send them. So it seems like you have a lot of listings. Do you get the same listings over and over? Okay, Grace, that's a good question. Here's why that's happening. But you want it, this is critical, you explain it to your clients because then they think you're a master, not an idiot, okay? Clients, and Grace is right, if you set them up on an auto hot sheet, it's very common that they're going to keep getting the same property over and over, and then they think you're an idiot and you're not even looking unless you explain to them how syndication works. And you say it like this: hey, the reason you're getting the same property multiple times is because I have set my hot sheet notification so that we don't miss anything. So I'm sending you one, new properties that fit your demographic. That's what you care about. But I've also set it to send me any property that has a material change that would fit your demographic. The most common change is lowering price. So there could be a listing that's been on for a month, and we set Mr. Johnson at 600 and under for Ramblers, and this listing started at 675. But the second it goes to 599, it's then going to come in the hot sheet. And then if Mr. Johnson's listing agent adds 6 new photos, it's going to come in the hot sheet again. And then if they accidentally messed up the square footage and they change it, it's going to come in the hot sheet again. The point is, the MLS is already set like this, but you just explain it to your client that you did it this way because you're super smart. You don't want to miss out on a property, so they're going to get everything new and then anything that has a material change. So it might be a little annoying if they're seeing the same one, but hey, at least they're not going to miss out, especially if there's a price change. Okay, Julie, if I'm doing that, CC everything to me, and in the mornings I send them a quick email to, hey, do you love this one? Does that work? I'm seeing in the morning. Yeah, so I use similar language. All these hot sheets come in the morning, and this might sound silly to you. I'm in speed mode. Like, I do prospecting on steroids and speed. It's very rare that I'm on a phone call because that time sucks, like 15, 20 minutes. It's not that I don't return phone calls. I do that for sure, but that's like around 10:30 a.m. and then in the afternoon again. To be honest, every once in a while it does bug some of my clientele, but the way my mind thinks, the way I am able to solicit a lot more people than the average agent is I'm doing what I just showed you in the mornings. And to what you're kind of asking, Julie, I'm not so specific on the messaging. I'm just in speed mode to, okay, Mr. Johnson, email forward. Did you see the new one on 123 Main Street? All right, next person, Cecilia. Oh yeah, she wants a 1-bedroom studio under 150,000. Super hard to find, but there's a new one. Pictures, ooh, wow, it looks really crummy. I'll forward it to, hey, Cecilia, I know this one doesn't look great, but again, you're looking under 150 for a studio. That's hard to find right now. This might be one of your only options downtown. Send. Next client. And so I'm just trying to say something specific that shows the client that I know what they want and I'm working for them. And when in doubt, just make something up, like you're suggesting, Julie. Hey, do you like this one? I'm not so sure you really got to say, do you want to see it this afternoon? That people are going to say to you when they want to see something live. But you're just trying to make comments as if you spent all morning looking for them again and you're on it. Okay.
Jake, to that point, Jake, one of the funniest things is that everyone on this call hates automated emails. Every single one of you hates automatic emails, and yet you want your automatic email to sell the house for you, right? So here's my hot sheet. Here you go. I sent it to you. So without that personal thing that Jake is talking about, without that moment where you take the hot sheet and you make your comment, how are they supposed to think that you're even paying attention if you set them on a drip campaign or anything else and don't add anything personal?
Yep.
It's an impossible ask for you to say, I don't want to look at automated email. I don't want to get those those go right to my spam folder. But I want the ones that I automate to you to work, right? It doesn't work like that.
Yep. No, and I know this sounds silly, but this is critical. And I'm seeing the comments and a lot of you, so I'll make this even more clear. Yeah, we're in the day and age, and you saw my Harvard review from last fall before COVID hit. It's not just phone calls. Texts are read 60 times faster than email, and 82% of emails in this day and age are not opened. So I love email. So it's not dying, and there's a reason for text. There's a reason for email. In my opinion, text is specific, quick, grab your attention. Email allows you to tell a much more elaborate story, bullet points, hyperlinks, attachments, PDFs, in color, da-da-da-da-da. Like, don't get me going on that tangent. But here's the overarching point. I find the most effective form of communication to reach out to the most people and not waste my time to be written, okay, in my opinion, text or email. It's what I'm good at. And I dread cold calling. I wouldn't be in this business if I had to cold call every morning. It doesn't matter the production amount. Like, it just gives me anxiety, and I'm not going to do it. So over 17 years, I've morphed into what I believe is this more organized and honestly more professional, less annoying form of communication. It allows my clients space without me pressuring them. It allows them to think, but it also shows that I'm on it every day and I'm an established expert. So the easiest way to do that for new agents, especially without a CRM, without a budget to market or anything, is get to know people, find out what they want, and start serving it up to them. But the way you do it is to have it come to you. So you're spamming only you. And then when you forward them the hot sheet, when you get good at it, guys, the hot sheet's already done for you. And what you're going to say comes to your mind as fast as you're clicking forward and as fast as you can type. Like I mentioned, and these are all active clients, probably have over 100 every morning. And I just forward, say something, forward, say something, forward, say something. There's no way the best expert with a headset on can contact as many people as I can in an hour and a half, pretty much 5 or 6 days a week. In fact, my luxury clients, if they're really, like, I have a client looking in Salt Lake Country Club right now up to 2 million. And I know that neighborhood is like, neighbors sell the neighbors all the time off the MLS, and we never even have a chance. And so when that hot sheet comes in the morning, 7 days a week, even on Sunday when I really don't like to work, if I see it and it's a house they like, I'm forwarding it, but it only takes me like 15 seconds. The key is to say something personal. And it's either something personal about them or something personal about the property that you're forwarding to them. And that changes the entire way you prospect in text. It makes people really feel like you're actually working for them in a new kind of virtual way. All right. We're pretty much done, but I'll try to answer. Okay, Julie, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. I think that's good times. Just do whatever works for you. Spence makes a good point. He said, how many of you comment on the, okay, I'm going to show you this. Spence has got another really good point since we're talking MLS, okay? All right, back to the MLS. If you're on your home page, it's having a problem refreshing. Joe, you can see my MLS, right? I just got a weird error on Zoom.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right. if you go to the home button on the MLS, or when you first log in, okay, this little widget right here is showing you all of your hot sheets that you've sent, okay? Or you can go to Front Porch, and it's going to tell you the hot sheets you sent. Now, here's what I'm trying to explain. I have all my hot sheets coming to myself so I can prospect the way I just showed you every morning. But your client may do one of two things. Sometimes I have clients that say, hey, you don't need to forward these every day. Like, I'll just set me up as well. So then they're actually getting the hot sheets and hopefully they're looking at them. Or when you're forwarding them to them, they still have the ability to create their own utahrealestate.com profile as a consumer. So the key is you want them operating in your universe, your environment, in the MLS. Not Zillow, not Trulia, not wherever else they're shopping, okay? I would say about a third of our clientele do this. Spencer's clients are a little better about doing this than me because he pushes it. And we have a little YouTube video that's in our email signature that shows clients how to do this. But if they open up a profile, the benefit for them is twofold. One, it allows them to start saving favorites and ranking houses and starring them within the context of the MLS so that you can see it as their agent. And I'll show you, it allows you the ability to communicate with them inside of the MLS and make comments about the property, such as, Angelo, did you see this new one on 123 Main this AM? I think Becca would like it. Comment. Okay, when you comment, you can make your comment viewable by everyone that is signed up under your MLS profile, all your clients, or you can make that comment viewable for just your client. Okay, again, kind of the same thing as emailing, but back to the 50,000 foot level. We as chameleon sales folk in this day and age don't have the luxury of a rifle approach and being super good at one form of communication. If that's all we do now, you might survive for a little bit, but you won't thrive. Meaning, you used to love the phone, you're super good at the phone, you're wondering why your business is dying slowly over the last decade. If you only use the phone and won't email, well, hello. You could see how that would lead down that path. The same thing applies back to just the golden rule. If you have a client using the front porch, you should probably comment to them about the house and the front porch. But it's back to that 50,000 foot level. Just reply in the way the customer wanted to reach out. And that's really, I have like a hardcore rub about this these days. In fact, I'm writing a book, and you're going to think I'm joking, but I'm going to show you so you know I'm not joking. And this is the last thing I'll say, Joe. I know we're over time. Right here, here's my outline for the book, and it's called The Gap Generation. And my philosophy is there's a unique generation if you're born between 1975 and about 1985. It'll never again exist because my generation can, please no one take offense to this, but I can speak boomer because I didn't have a cell phone in high school, and I understand in the business community the frustrations that the boomer generation can have in general. I can also about face, and I've picked up technology rather easily and adopted it young. And so I understand what perhaps techies and millennials are saying. Having a unique ability to bridge that gap, if some of you on the call are my same age demographic, it gives you a unique perspective, not just in real estate, but in the business community, okay? And, you know, I don't want to dive into the reasons why, but at the 50,000 foot level, my belief, and COVID has fast forwarded this, my belief is that to be a really good salesperson in this day and age, the word is chameleon. You've just got to be able to adapt and and form. You don't need to be an expert, but you got to be adaptable to the form of communication that your customer reached out to you. And so you do kind of have to be familiar with it all. And if somebody wants a phone call back, be professional, give that phone call back. If somebody commented on the front porch, comment back. But it's not scary, it's not hard. And when it comes to your prospecting time, that's between you and you, your habits, your traditions, your goal setting. So just make it organized and specific to you. I don't spend more than about an hour on the load to 2 hours max, probably 4 days a week, because sometimes I kind of just blow off Fridays, actually prospecting. So let's call it 5 to 6 hours in any given week, yet I'm able to touch that many people and do it in an organized fashion for me. I hope that helps your businesses, and we'll have this recorded and Joe will get it out. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
You bet, Jake. We'll get this converted and put up on our YouTube channel. For those of you that forgot, that's just go to YouTube and search BHHS Learning, and then we'll also get it up on the intranet. So thumbs up for Jake, huh? Good stuff, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.